So are you both from Sandoplessis? From the vet store? Okay. So why all the way to Bloem? Why did you come all the way to Bloem? So are you by Monyetla? Or are you? Yeah. Is it the same like you? You by Monyetla, you're just sleeping here, or what? And when are you going home? Which is Saturday, ne? Now who looks after you guys?
They are teachers and we sleep separately. The boys have their own side and the girls also have their own side. So the ladies that normally take care of us, they go to our side.
And how many are you in a room? 5 in a room. And you?
3.
Boys and girls are not the same. Is het nou reg?
Ja, ons is reg.
Okay.
Al wat juffrou vir my moet doen is jy gaan maar basies net hier staan en wanneer jy switch en werk op die bord en goed is, hy sal dit optel en ons sal outomaties aan die bord toe skakel.
Okay, ek kyk mos vir hulle, nee.
Jy kan vir hulle kyk. Jy kan vir die kameras ook kyk. Ek maak nie
Nee,
saak
ek wil weet
Ja, want jy sien dit nie want onthou die stoele voor jou.
Ja.
So nee, jy kan maar net vir hulle. Moenie die heeltyd vir hulle kyk.
'n kykie.
Ja, moenie want onthou hier's 'n audience voor jou.
Okay.
Want ons gaan jou vang dat jy die hele tyd so maak. Ja nee, vrou, dit is that's why you get paid the big bucks.
Oh, dankie meneer. Kan ek maar begin, meneer? Okay. Good morning, everybody. I hope that you guys are well today. Thank you so much for being here. Today is our second day for English FAL at Monyetla. Now, to start off today, I will be revising on summaries. I will be doing visual literacy, such as our adverts and our cartoons. Now, with that being said, let's get straight into it. Currently, our summaries are one of the best sections in our paper ones that can help us. Why? Because it asks of us to do only 3 things. To write it in point form, it asks of us to put it in our own words, and it asks of us to answer that specific question that the summary is asking of us. All right. Now, before we get to all of that, I am going to browse through the list. Some of you might know this, and some of you might not. But nonetheless, if you do, let's hope that you remember to practice it for your next exam. All right. So when we look at our summary section, it's usually our question 2. It's the section right after the comprehension. And when we see it, we see that Here it says by the summary, the notes that I've placed here, it says, by following the instructions carefully, this question could earn you full marks. And that's a guarantee. However, there's no need to stress when you can at least get a 70% for this question. Why? Because just because it's not in our own words, doesn't mean we will not get the mark. But at the end of the day, it's the factor that we have chosen, as well as how many of them we have written. We're only supposed to write 7. And 7 out of 10 gives us our 70%. All right. So now there's a few tips. It says avoid lifting by copying complete sentences from the text. That means if you copy from the start of the sentence until the end of the sentence, which is obviously the beginning to the end, that is called lifting. All right, they say avoid it. However, if it's a factor, there's a chance of you getting the mark if you obviously choose the correct factor. All right. Then it also says try to rephrase the points in your own words. If we try to rephrase points in our own words, one option that we can choose so far is to either switch the sentence start from the back to the front, right? Instead of starting from that point of the sentence to the end of the sentence, that is called the lifting. But if we restructure our sentence back to front, obviously in order for it to make sense, what will happen? It will still be correct, because not only did I rephrase it, but I also chose the correct factor. Are we clear? Another option is when you take your factor and you try to eliminate the unnecessary words there in that sentence. However, the sentence must still make sense. And if the sentence still makes sense, it's obviously correct, as well as the factor must be correct. So we can't just choose any random factor for that matter. All right, good. Are we also fine there? All right. Please ask me questions. If there's anything that you are unsure of, ask me questions. Then it says reread the instructions and make sure that the final summary makes sense to someone who's not read this original text. Now, if it says reread the instructions, when we go look at the instructions of the summary, it is detailed specifically because they want to test if you can execute this instruction. So they are saying to us, and I'm only reading the instructions, number 1 to 6. You can follow on your page as well. Your summary must be written in point form. List your 7 points in full sentences using no more than 70 words. That means it can be less than 70 words, but not more than 70 words. Staying on that point there, please do not forget to indicate your word count right at the end. The examiners are asked to please count the number of words to make sure that it is accurate. All right. Then number your sentences from 1 to 7. So in bullet point form, you are going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 until 7 because you need 7 factors. Then write only 1 point per sentence per point. We cannot combine 2 points in one. Unacceptable. Because you will only get 1 mark for 1 point considered. And the other point that you probably, just by joining in, just because you used the word and, it basically will show that we are going to disregard this one because it could have been placed underneath. All right, good. Use your own words as far as possible and indicate the total number of words you have used in brackets at the end of your summary. Like I've said, the instruction says brackets, and then also right at the end of the number of words. One other thing I want to clarify, please write your points by skipping a line after each of them. It helps the marker to see clearly what you have written, and then the wording is not so clustered together in point form. All right, good. Going back to our tips, because we've read the instructions based on what is expected of a summary. Now, when we look at our instructions, our tips, it says reread the text to be summarized to get a general idea of the content. However, what I would advise you to do is, when you look at your text, because before we start, we have to read some sort of idea. It's like an introductory statement. The statement that is placed there gives you the idea of what is expected in our summary. Now, if I had to ask you, if I gave you an hour, a free hour for the day to take care of yourself, how would you take care of yourself? How would you take care of yourself? Okay. Good. One of the important things that he did indicate was having to invest in himself with regards to amplifying his knowledge. That is what he did. And that's how he will take care of himself when he has that free hour. And that's a good thing, because he chose to take care of himself in that way, even though there's multiple other ways. But the good thing is the investment. Now, I asked that question because our summary is based on it. If we read our introductory sentence, this is what it says. Self-care is about taking care of yourself in a way that protects and improves your physical and emotional well-being. And obviously, the gentleman would obviously invest and read upon things that basically helps with his self-care, his physical and his well-being. All right. Now, that is why we are doing it. And when we need to actually look at our piece, we need to highlight all the certain factors in our text. Now, I'm going to start only with one, and thereafter you will do the rest. Because in order for us to understand how we need to do the summary, we need to read the text. And it goes as ways to practice self-care. Self-care is about taking time to give yourself what you need to develop and grow. It is not about being selfish. The care you give yourself can improve your mood and relationships. There are various things you can do to practice self-care. So even though we have read the introduction, what is asked of us? The instruction says to us, read the passage text C, and then list 7 ways to practice self-care. Now, usually in the introduction, you won't really get the skills to practice self-care, because an introduction gives us an idea of what will be throughout the text. And when we do that, we will now go to our next paragraph. And our next paragraph says, humans are social beings who need to connect with others and spend time with family and friends. Visiting friends and spending time with loved ones can be good for your mental health. Now, is there a skill or a way to practice self-care in that paragraph that we have read? Yes. What is it? Exactly. Spending time with family and friends. That is a way. But now our instructions said that we are supposed to write it in full sentences. And we are also not supposed to lift. So by taking that part of the sentence, we are going to put it in our own words. Instead of starting from humans are social beings, we can start with spend time with friends and family. And that is our sentence, because we are giving an instruction and we are including a way to practice self-care. Are we clear? Good. That's obviously in point number 1. All right. Now, for number 2, we are reading number 2, paragraph 2, and you must indicate if there is any other point that you see in paragraph 2. All right. It says, it is important to eat food that nourishes your body. Having a balanced diet with a variety of healthy food can keep your blood sugar stable, help you to maintain a healthy weight, and improve your mood. All right. Now, is there any point that we see there? Yes. What point could it be? It is important to eat food that nourishes the body. Okay, now that is a sentence that was derived directly from that text. It is a factor. However, what is it telling us? How is it telling us to have self-care? To eat healthy food. So what is the idea? We need to eat healthy or eat a balanced diet. Are we clear? Good, guys. So obviously, we can see how we're using those words, creating shorter sentences, but also creating our own through rephrasing. All right, good. We're going to number 3. Yes. Yeah. That point for number 2 is what we have summarized in 1. Because it's important to eat food that nourishes your body, and having to have a balanced diet is exactly the same. We are basically indicating that we must have healthy foods. But even if we do have healthy food, it must be balanced. Do you understand? So it all correlates together. It's not just here's this one and here's that one. However, there can be more than one point. If you indicate that it is important to eat healthy foods, it's a form of self-care, right? But be careful not to repeat the same one, because candidate 1 can say it's important to eat healthy foods, and then candidate 2 can say it's important to have a balanced diet. It's still the same. Even though it can be two can be identified. But if you mention it twice, I can only give you mark for 1. All right. Okay. Then, starting off with the next paragraph, it says daily exercise that increase your heart rate are good for your body and mind. Moving your body is what's important. You could go to the gym, join an exercise class, or go out in nature and take a walk. So now how do you take care of self? How do you do self-care? Practice it. Daily exercising, or you can say exercise every day. You can say having to go for a walk outside in nature. As you can see, there's more than one there. But the most important thing that I'm reminding you is our sentences must be full sentences. And what is a sentence? A sentence consists of having a full subject, a verb, and it must agree. However, the sentence must be able to stand on its own, and it must be able to make sense. We can't put in fragments, phrases that does not correlate to the instructions. All right, good. Then we continue on. We are now currently at number 4. Our factor for number 4 that we are looking for, because we already have spending time with friends and family. We already have number 2, having to eat a balanced, healthy diet. We already have number 3, to exercise every day. And then number 4 is what we will read now in the last paragraph. And it says, another way to practice self-care is to have a clear mind. Your attention and focus should be on the present moment. Broaden your general knowledge. Exposure to new information can be exciting, and it also decreases boredom and overthinking. Is there anything along those few sentences where I stopped? Is there an additional factor that we can see there? Yes, there is. The one that you see there is to focus and clear your mind. That is a form of practicing self-care. And when you form and practice the self-care of clearing your mind, obviously you do show that you want to have a clearer mind and thinking, because if that is there, you have peace. And that is a form of self-care. All right. Then number 5, in that same sentences there, it says broaden your knowledge. How can you rephrase broaden your knowledge and exposure to new information? How you can do that, obviously, good, is by saying read and learn new information, or expose yourself to new and current information, things that are interesting, things that interest you. So that is how you will read and learn new information. That is number 5. Yes. Number 5. Number 5, how we would do that is we would say read and learn new information, or reading material, or even expose yourself to new and reading material or information. Are we clear? Okay, so all of these things that we are mentioning are factors that we have seen. I mean, if we look at this one, and it's with the cursor that I'm showing you there, broaden your knowledge, it basically shows us that I'm using broaden the knowledge, and I'm saying read new material. I am saying go and read new information. It's just rephrased, so it is there. And then we are at number 6. Number 6, it is to care for yourself. I'm reading in the text. To care for yourself effectively, you need to spend some time every day focusing on yourself. Engage in various restful activities like reading and meditation. Get good quality sleep, as the benefits of a good night's sleep are well documented. All right, so what would number 6 be? Yes, engage in various restful activities like reading and meditation. But how can you rephrase it? You can rephrase it by saying, practicing relaxing activities such as meditation. And that's one thing I want to clear out there quickly. In the text, if they give us an example of how to do a relaxing activity, like for instance, meditation, include it into your sentence. Because if we do mark the essay and the learner says, practice relaxation activities, okay, we understand. But the marker does not know what is the relaxation activities. So because the text gave us an example of what it actually is, what are we supposed to do? We need to add it. Because that just immediately gives us our mark. Remember, the purpose of us giving our answers is to convince the marker. Because convincing the marker to give you, it obviously makes it correct. Does that make sense? Based on how you are stating your answer, based on how detailed your answer is. All right? Then our last one, number 7. Who can tell me what it is? Yes, sir. Good. Get enough sleep. Get enough sleep. When you are rested and when you have a good night's sleep, as it says in the text, it is documented. You are taking care of yourself. All right? So, number 7. Number 7 is to get enough sleep. All right? So, with all the points that I have given, my total of words is 41 words. So, going back to our instruction, using no more than 70 words, but definitely less. But it must obviously factor in all of the correct points that they are looking for. All right. Is there any other questions with regards to a summary? Yes, ma'am.
I just want to know, sometimes when we do our summaries, and if they say we should indicate 70 words, let me just say, for example, my total words are 75. Are they going to subtract all those 5 words from my summary?
It depends on where the 75 mark stopped. If it is still within the word of the sentence, the last sentence that was read, they will still consider with the rest that is there. But if it is within the next point, it's not really considered. So you have to be accurate. All right. They do count. They do count. All right. Okay. Can we go to our next section? Are we clear? Are we all fine with our summary? Okay. Easy marks, but don't take it for granted. All right. Okay. Now, we will be heading to our visual literacy. Okay. With our visual literacy, I will be starting with an advert. I'm just paging to mine as well. So when we do our adverts, boys and girls, one question I want to ask you. Because this is our advert that we are going to do. Okay, this is our advert. Parodontax. Now, if I gave you multiple toothpastes, right? And they all have the same price, how do you choose one?
Same brand.
No, it's not the same brand. Different brand, but they are all the same price. how do you choose your toothpaste? Which, uh-huh. Yes, good, good. And you? How would you choose if you had to choose your toothpaste? They are all the same price. How would you choose that this is the correct one you want to choose? But how do you stipulate the quality if the price is the same? Because usually if the quality is good, the price is high. Say again. Yes. Definitely. So, because if we look here and we see that when we see Parodontax, we see that it is a mouth hygienic brand in relation to toothpaste, mouthwash, so forth, right? But now when we look at our advert, we see Daily Gum Care Mouthwash. Sorry. Scientifically proven to help keep gums healthy. Make Parodontax Daily Gum Care Mouthwash a part of your daily oral care routine. It has been specially formulated to actively target 3 times more plague germs that may cause gum problems and helps keep your gums and teeth healthy. Parodontax Daily Gum Care Mouthwash is available in 2 variants. Daily Gum Care Fresh Mint 500 ml, as well as the Daily Gum Care Extra Fresh 500 ml. And then they give us the picture of how it looks. And then we see there on that picture, there's a few icons there as well. It shows how it strengthens the teeth, adds zinc for fresh breath, as well as scientifically proven to keep the gums healthy, works between teeth and around the gum line. So they're giving us all these details that we want to hear, even though we're not looking for it. But when we actually start to choose our product, we need to actually browse and scan, what does this entail? Why am I convinced to buy this product? Targets plague germs where brushing alone and can't reach. Okay, so basically it formulates or adds to an additional part of our mouth hygiene. And then lastly, at the bottom, they would always add that little bit of extra. Complete your oral care routine with Parodontax Expert Gum Care Toothpaste. And look, the font there is written in capital letters to help gums keep healthy. To find out more about how the Parodontax range can help you look after your gums and visit the website there that they give us. You can find the Parodontax range in Click stores near you as well. All right, and as you can see, this comes from the September magazine of Clicks. Now, even though we saw this, this is not necessarily convincing. All right, so what would make it convincing for us? The first thing we ask is, who's the target market? Who's the target market of that advert? Everybody who has teeth? Okay, yes. Yes, people who necessarily have gum problems, healthy, unhealthy issues, and how to basically fix it. Now, the purpose of our advert is to bring not only awareness, but to persuade the consumer to buy the product. And that's why today we have influencers, because the influencers are convincing us to purchase and not just the normal advert that we see. So even though that is there, when we look at question 3, as I'm reading there, it says, there are many ways of persuading people. You need to know the techniques. Know terms such as visual, consumers, target markets, the layout, the font, stereotypes, logos, and then the slogan. Because all these terms are important. Because when they do ask, they want to see if you understand what it means. Am I done? Okay. Okay, meneer. Sorry.
Morning. Time is already 5 minutes past 9. just need to check with. Okay, thank you. Let me greet all of you once again. So today we're not really gonna have a class that has got many candidates, but many of our learners are rather having this lesson virtually. So as we will be busy working here, they will also be following us online. And indeed, for the benefits of maybe those who do not know me, my name is Mr. Yilo. I would really want for us to look at the chapter foreign exchange markets. But even if we will be focusing on the chapter on the foreign exchange markets, we will be focusing, I think, mostly on the graphical part of it. I was just not aware that today we were going to have a setup like this where there's absolutely no whiteboards and blackboards. However, Mr. Grobler said maybe they would make this other machine available for us to use, but it looks like it's not yet here. So we will try to do it as much as possible using the screen. Let us really not waste time because we're having only 1 hour. So basically what we are going to focus on for today, we will be focusing on maybe the introduction of foreign exchange markets. We will look at the definition of the foreign exchange. We'll be also looking at different concepts and then the demand and supply of the foreign exchange. Those will be looking at the factors that are affecting demand and the factors that are affecting the supply. And then obviously we look at the equilibrium and the interventions. Then if we have covered that aspect for today, we would have covered what I have needed to cover with you today, with the aim that if we finish that today, then tomorrow we are then able to start looking at maybe the balance of payment accounts, looking at different balance of payment accounts, be it the current account, being it the financial account, and of course the capital accounts. So let me not waste any time, but if you have questions, you'll just tell me. What's going to happen because of the nature of today's lesson and the fact that many of you are not available, so we depend more on this recording. I will not then be giving you any activities to write, but basically what I can do, I will then give them to you at the end of the lesson, which you will now go and prepare as your homework, which is something that we will be working on tomorrow. Because remember, if I give you activities, it's going to require of me to be quiet for some time while you guys are busy working on that activity, which means now the recording will be running for nothing. So because of that, it means I need to be available speaking for this entire hour. So most of the times it will be basically you asking questions and me answering your questions and me delivering the content. Is it fine? Thank you very much. Now let us continue. And on my introduction, which you can see there, in a modern world setup, all countries have economic relations with each other. So that is true. We know countries are having what? Are having relationships with each other. Remember, our title is Foreign Exchange Markets. And where does it come from? Already from the secular flow, when you were taught in the secular flow, somehow your teachers told you that we have a closed economy secular flow and you also have an open economy secular flow. And they said that if an economy is a closed economy, you will see by it or that model not having what? A foreign sector. So if now there is no foreign sector, then it means that it's a closed economy. And it means the people of that specific country produce and consume things that were produced in their own country only. That means we cannot import goods from other countries in as much as we cannot export goods from other countries. So that is what a closed economy. However, that model of closed economy is really not convenient for the real life. Hence, countries started to have what we call a relationship, and that relationship can come in many ways. And one of the ways by which countries can have relations, they can have trade relations, which means trading with each other. Now, when you look at that, there is an increasing interdependence between the countries depending on each other for various things, which maybe we will look at during during this time of this lesson. As a country, each country has its own currency. Domestic currency of a country cannot be used directly to purchase in another country. It must first be converted to the currency, then it can be used in transactions. Now, when we are in an open economy, well and good, we may have the relations to trade as countries. But in South Africa, our currency is South African rand, and it is a legal tender. That is the only legal tender which is allowed to be used as a medium of exchange in South Africa. However, you cannot take your rand and take it to China. You cannot take your South African rand and take it to your UK or take it to USA and think that when you get there, they will still accept that money to buy goods and services. Do you understand? They will not accept it. So why? Because South African rand, it's not a legal tender. It is not a generally accepted tender to be used for buying goods and services in other countries. However, it is only used in your own countries. Do you understand? So now, if we want to buy goods from other countries, if we want to visit other countries, what do we have to do? We have to exchange our currency into the currency of the country where we want to visit. Do you understand? And then now comes the word foreign exchange market. There now comes the word foreign exchange markets. So a foreign exchange markets are markets in which we are able to exchange what? We are able to exchange currencies, because we cannot use the currencies, our currencies as they are in other countries. Do you understand? That was just by introduction. And then, so this, I think somehow it might be something that I have already covered. Foreign refers to stock of what? Foreign currencies, and it also refers to securities and bonds that are issued by corporates and the government. So I don't really want to waste time too much on this ones. There are some very important things which I would want for us to do before the end of the day. So when you look at this foreign exchange market, it is already something that I have already explained to you. I'm hoping that you can see. Can you see from there? So the foreign exchange market is a global marketplace where currencies are traded. What are traded there? We are trading currencies. It's a global marketplace where currencies are traded. It is the largest and most liquid financial market in the world, which allows the participants to buy, to sell, and exchange, and to speculate on the currencies, often referred to as the Forex market or FX market. So here it's just an explanation again of what I have earlier explained to you. We do not really want to waste too much time on this, because during our introduction, I might have touched on these things, which after this, I will stop a little bit and give you a chance maybe to ask me questions. So exchange rate, foreign exchange, exchange rate. Exchange rate now becomes a concept on its own, which you need to understand. You need to explain what is that. So exchange rate refers to the rate at which a currency of one country is exchanged for the currency of another country. I want to repeat it. The rate at which a currency of one country is exchanged for the currency of another country. It is it is the price of one currency in terms of another. It represents the external purchasing power of a currency. It is the rate at which exports and imports of a nation are valued at a given point in time. Now let us break exchange rate easier. Remember, we said it is the what? It is the currency of one country against another country. Let's say in South Africa you are using the rand as our currency. In the USA, they would then use US dollar as their what? As their currency. Now, just because you might have 10,000 in your South African bank account, it doesn't mean that you have 10,000 US dollars. Do you understand? When you have 10,000 in your bank account today, that 10,000 does not equate to 10,000 US dollars. So as a person who would want to import goods from another country, or if you want to invest in another country, or you even want to tour to another country, it is very important to know that whatever amount of money that you have today, how sufficient will it be for you to undertake whatever activity that you want to undertake. Let's take tourism, for example. If you want to go to the US for the purpose of tourism, just to go have fun there, right? You might not say, okay, I'm gonna take a flight to US today because I'm having a 10,000 in my bank account. I have a lot of money. Why? Because then when you go to another country, the value of their currency is not exactly the same as the value of your own currency. So what then becomes important is that you need to exchange the currency of your country into the currency of that specific country. I don't know if you understand then what I'm talking about. Let's take, for example, let's say if you are in South Africa, 1 rand is equal to, let's say, hypothetically speaking, hypothetically speaking, 1 rand is equals to 19, or $1 is equals to 19 rands. Do you understand? So, which means now, for you as a South African to buy $1, how many rands do you need? Let's talk and let's open up our mind. Let's not just say things that we are not even convinced of. We say $1 is equals to 19 rands. Then my question was, if I want to buy $1, how many South African rands am I going to spend in order to buy $1? 19 rands, right? So if I am seeing online, I need to buy something online, and this comes from the USA, maybe let's say it's a pair of sneakers, and then it is denoted $50. In South Africa, do I need 50 rands to buy that pair of sneakers? So how am I going to know the right price of that sneaker? We are going to take 19 rands and multiply it by what? And multiply it by 50. And it would maybe show us that in South African rand, you would perhaps need to spend so many hundreds or so many thousands for you to be able to afford that particular pair of sneaker, right? So this is just how it is. So you just don't get too excited now, because sometimes, especially when you're buying things from USA, you would be seeing that they would say, no, it's $1,000. And then when you think, oh, it's $1,000, and you think like, no, but it's very cheap. It's not. It's $1,000. But when you compare that $1,000 into your South Africa, when you convert it into a South African rand, then you find that it's actually far more than what I thought it is. Do you understand? So that is why we want to learn about the exchange rate, the price of one currency as it is compared to the currency of then another country. So now one thing that we need to understand about the currency is that the currency of the country does not stay stable. It doesn't stay what? Stable. It doesn't stay stable, which means it fluctuates. It has its ups and downs. Ups and downs. We in South Africa, we understand and we know that It is well known in Africa's diaspora and perhaps even beyond Africa's diaspora to say, they said March the 30th, then is the day when we want to see illegal foreigners leaving South Africa. Unfortunately, we are doing economics. Immediately when that March takes place today, we expect our financial markets to be affected. We expect to see how the currency is going to respond to that. Do you understand? And that is just one of the examples that shows that currency of a country is not something that stays the same all the time. Sometimes the currency of the country goes up, sometimes the currency of the country goes down. And when there is an improvement in the currency of the country, it is then that concept which we would refer to as appreciation. We say the currency has appreciated. Now let us look at what appreciation is. Appreciation refers to an increase in the value of the domestic currency in terms of the foreign currency. It happens when there is a decrease in domestic price to buy a unit of foreign currency. E.g., if a price of a dollar decreases from 19 rands to 15 rands, that is an example of appreciation. So very important. Appreciation refers to an increase in what? In the value of what? In the value of currency. But when the currency appreciates, it means the currency, it becomes stronger. And when it becomes stronger, it means it gains more purchasing power compared to how it was before. So it appreciates, well and good. It means the currency gains strength, and it means the purchasing power becomes more. And in this particular case, you look at the example that is given there, it says the price has increased from 19 rands to 15 rands. But this is actually the case where many of our learners are making mistakes. Just because you see that the price has dropped from 19 rands to 15 rands, many of them would say, no, but that is a depreciation. And when you ask them, why are you saying that's a depreciation? Because they would say, like, look, from 19 rands to 15 rands, that is a decrease in price. No, that decrease in price, it actually means appreciation. Put simple, it says previously we would spend 19 rands to buy $1. But currently, we are now buying the same $1 for now 15 rands. So which means now we can say, in this case, the South African rand had gained value and the US dollar has lost value. Do you understand? But if, for example, we were to take this 50, if we were to say, example, the price of a dollar increases from 19 rands to 25 rands, it would mean that we now need 25 rands to buy $1, whereas previously we would buy only $1 for 19 rands. So in that case, it would be a depreciation of the South African currency, however, an appreciation of dollar. So the one thing that need not to confuse you is to look at the price. Sometimes some of the learners, when they see that there was a decline in price, they are too quick to say that is a depreciation. And when there is an increase in price, they are too quick to say that is an appreciation. So it really is not the case. Let us look maybe at the issue of depreciation. Now, a depreciation is the opposite of what? It's the opposite of appreciation. It refers to a decrease in the value of domestic currency in terms of a foreign currency. It occurs when there is an increase in domestic currency to buy a unit of foreign currency. Example, if a price of a dollar rises from 15 rands to 19 rands. In this case, I want you to look at the notes. Look at the notes, especially where the example is. Previously, before an increase in the price of a dollar here, how much did we buy $1 for? According to it's there. Leave the book, it's right there on the thing, on the screen. How much did we use to buy $1 for? We used to buy it for how much?
15 rand.
However, now it has increased to. So is this a case of, and listen to me carefully, would we say rand, South African rand, has appreciated or has depreciated? The answers were rather not convincing. Some of them were saying the answers without conviction. Now, remember, I'm asking, given a scenario of a price of dollar increasing from 15 to 19, what does that have to say about the currency of South Africa? Rand has depreciated. And there is an appreciation of what? Of dollar. Do you understand? So a dollar has appreciated while the rand has depreciated. Thank you. And then we also have these two concepts. We have these two concepts that we want to look at that says a revaluation and devaluation. A currency of a country, as much as it appreciates and it depreciates, it can revaluate, it can be devaluated. But it's very much important. Revaluation and devaluation, by meaning, they have a similar meaning to that of appreciation and depreciation. But the most important thing is for us to know when is it revaluation, what happens when it is revaluation, and also what happens when it is devaluation. So, revaluation occurs when a country raises the value of its currency in terms of foreign currency by government order. Number one, by what? Government order. So revaluation, that is when the government is the one that actually raises the currency of the country, which means we are experiencing appreciation, but this appreciation comes as a result of the government order. Do you understand? So revaluation has got the effect that is similar to that of appreciation. So when you are defining, for example, if a question asks you, what is revaluation? You cannot say revaluation is appreciation and leave it there. It cannot be correct. You cannot define it. Yes, the effect of revaluation is exactly as the effect of appreciation. But you need to make me understand. When you say revaluation, you tell us that it is when the currency of the country increases, but by government order. So this has got to be a deliberate action. It's a deliberate action taken by the government to increase the value of the currency. And also, there would be what we call devaluation. And devaluation is the opposite of what? Is the opposite of depreciation. They carry the same meaning, but the other one is done deliberately. So when it's devaluation, when a country brings down the value of its currency in terms of the foreign currency by government order. When the country does what? The country brings down the value of its currency in terms of foreign currency by government order. Which means, if, for example, today the rand has dropped as a result of much and much, it cannot be revaluation. It would be meaning that the currency has responded to the market forces, how people have reacted towards the march. Do you understand? So that can never be devaluation. It would rather be what? It would rather be referred to as a depreciation. Because then that depreciation of price would have been solely forced by the market forces of demand and supply. Do you understand? But now devaluation and revaluation, those ones are done deliberately. The government would be the one to deliberately cause the foreign currency of the country to be poorer compared to that of another country. Now, for the purpose of us engaging, why would the government want to devalue a currency? Why would it want to devalue a currency? Why would the government want to drop the currency of the country such that it becomes weaker?
To ensure that more people are able to buy goods and services.
To ensure people are able to buy goods and services from where?
From local businesses and shops.
So when you are ensuring, I get you 100%. I'm getting your grift. But you are saying the government is devaluing their currency because it would want the citizens to buy goods so that it is affordable for people to buy goods in their own country. Okay, I'm gonna come to you. Thank you for that. Let's take you, girl.
So I think it is so that they can demotivate their citizens from buying from foreign markets.
And she says that is an action that would be taken by the government because it would want to demotivate the citizens of a country from buying products that are from abroad. Well, sorry? And increasing our domestic GDP. Well, I'm liking the responses, and I'm willing to take one from this side, maybe any. There is no stupid answer, trust me. Do you not have anything to share with us? Okay, fine. Look, both your answers were correct. I, however, would have loved for you to qualify your answer more. You just gave us a skeleton without giving us a flesh. Because you are saying, just because it would want people to buy goods in their country or something, so that it must be cheaper for people to buy goods in their country, and you left it there. So you didn't really qualify your response. But she said the government can devalue the currency so that people can buy less goods from abroad and start to buy goods that are produced locally. And she added by saying that when that is done, it will boost the gross domestic product of a country. Remember, international trade, as much as it's good, but if not well managed, it can come at a disadvantage of our local industries. I don't know if you understand what. International trade, even though it is good, but if it is not well managed, it can come at a disadvantage of our own countries. Look, when we are engaging in international trade, we are competing somehow, we are trading somehow with countries that are well developed than ours. And if we are competing with countries that are well developed, many of their companies abroad, you would find that they are heavily subsidized by the government. So they experience what is economies of scale in their production. So because in their production they experience what is the economies of scale, for a country that is less subsidized, obviously it would not be able to compete, because then it's cheaper to buy this thing abroad than I have to buy it at home. Do you understand? It would be cheaper for me to buy it abroad than I have to buy it from where? From home. So if it's cheaper for you if I buy it abroad than me buying it at home, what's going to happen? More of our citizens are going to what?
Buy abroad.
Money flowing. Money flows out of the what? Money flows out of our economy, right? At the end of the day, how will that affect our balance of payment? There will be a deficit, right? Because there is more outflow of money than there is an inflow of money. But without even that balance of payment, what about our domestic companies in South Africa? We keep on buying abroad without necessarily supporting our own businesses. It means we are killing them, right? They will not be producing much of that product anymore because there is no local demand for that product. Do you understand? So it's more like what we are observing now. Many of us are buying clothes at Shein,
buying clothes from Temu, just because they are cheaper and all that. But at some point, that on its own, we must always remember that it comes at a disadvantage of a local business, which is the business that has employed our parents and our sisters. So if we keep on going and we buy abroad and we forget to buy locally, then we're saying, okay, fine, you South African local business, die. We are going to keep on what? Supporting the foreign economies so that they are then able to create more jobs for their people there and all that and all that. So somehow, because of the disadvantages such as the ones that I'm now mentioning to you, the government may then decide to maybe devalue the currency. That is when we say devaluation. Did you understand that? Okay, fine. And when we have understood, I think that is going to help us with the visualizer. Is it for that purpose, say? I think it would be coming at the most appropriate time, because actually there was something that I wanted to do with them so that what we are doing becomes more practical. So those are the reasons for devaluation, and those are the reasons for devaluation, and also what? And also revaluation. But remember, the effects of revaluation are more the same as revaluation, appreciation, devaluation. Thank you very much. We will now move to the foreign exchange controls. What the foreign exchange controls then are? The foreign exchange controls, it would refer to the government-imposed regulations and restrictions on the buying and selling and trading of foreign currencies. Somebody's calling me, I do not know who is that, and I would not love to do this. These controls are used to stabilize the country's economy by managing the flow of foreign currency in and out of the country. And for example, here there is just an example to say a common example of a foreign exchange control is when a government set a fixed exchange rate for its currency. For instance, if a country experiencing high inflation, it might fix its currency's exchange rate to a more stable foreign currency to prevent further devaluation and control of inflation. So that one, honestly, when you look at your examination guideline, there's nothing much practical about the foreign exchange controls except for you to understand what foreign exchange controls are and when are they being used and all that. So what I really want to, it's us now coming to the practical part. I do not want to give you just the graph as it was, but I think I will try to explain the graph, and then you will be able to understand it. Maybe we can do the practical part tomorrow if the visualizer could not work today, but we can still continue with today's session as planned. Now we are going to look at the demand and supply of Forex. We're looking at the what? The demand as well as the supply of Forex. So, firstly, we need to understand that there are factors that affect the demand for Forex. There are factors that affect the supply of Forex. Now, we are going to look at the demand factors only for now. And you need to understand these factors, because when we go to the drawing and the explanation of the graphs, it becomes easy for us to understand them if we already have this understanding of these factors. Look, factors that affecting demand for Forex. What is demand for Forex? Demand for Forex is us when we want to buy, visit, invest abroad. If you want to go to USA for touring, you are demanding foreign exchange. You are demanding what? You are demanding Forex. So number one, importing goods, it's an example of, it's a factor that affects demand. when you are importing goods, for example, you are seated there, but you want to import a sneaker from USA, you are demanding Forex. So imports are an example of demanding Forex. Not only those, payment for services from foreign countries. Also what? Payment for services from foreign countries. Also that is what? That is demand for Forex. And let us look at payment for services. You must be aware that importing takes money out, right? Payment for services from foreign countries also takes money out. Look, if you get someone from another country, let's say we're getting someone to come into South Africa. That person is not a South African. He's a person from USA. And he's coming to South Africa to render a certain service. We as South Africans are going to pay him for that service, right? And then when he leaves with what? Part of the money that he has received in our economy, right? So payment for services also is what? Is a demand for what? For Forex. Because at the end of the day, money is going to flow out of the country. Do you understand? Buying shares in another country. When you buy shares in another country, if there is a country that is based abroad and you want to buy shares in that country, number one, you take your South African money and use it to buy shares there. I get it? You are demanding Forex. Money out again. Do you understand? And then tourists, we've spoken about tourism, right? Tourists spending money overseas. You leaving South Africa, going overseas, you are demanding Forex. And then the last one, repayment of debt borrowed from foreign countries. Again, if we take a loan from other countries, when we repay the loan, that loan, when we service the loan, as we pay the money back, again, it is regarded as what? As a demand for Forex. So all those are the factors that are affecting the demand for Forex. Now, these that we are going to look at now are the factors that are affecting the supply of Forex. They are just the opposite of the factors that affect demand. So what was on under demand? Under supply is just the opposite of it. Number one, remember, under demand we said imports, right? But for supply, export goods. Exports, and remember now, exports are those goods that are domestically produced. These ones we have produced them in South Africa. They are the products that are what? Are manufactured in South Africa. So when we sell them to other countries, we are exporting. So what's going to happen? More money flows into our country. I get? When we export, as the goods are leaving the shores of the country, but there's money that comes in to the country. So the supply brings in money, Forex. The supply side, they would bring in the Forex into the country. Providing services to foreign countries. The opposite of what? Of the other one on that side. So if I am, for example, if now I'm getting a call to the USA and they say, please come and give our learners a lecture for 1 hour, economics 1 hour. What am I doing? I'm going there to offer a service. But they are going to pay me for that service, right? So there is something that I'm going to be paid. But when I'm paid, I'm not going to be paid in rands, I'm going to be paid in dollars, right? Even though it will have to be exchanged for me to have it in South Africa then. When I come to South Africa, I brought money with. So I hope there's one thing that you are learning, that the demand factors were actually taking money out of the country, whereas the supply factors are bringing the money in. Are we fine? Any questions? Any questions so far? Yes?
I have a question, but it's regarding the topic that we passed.
No problem. Ask it now before you forget it.
So, are there any foreign exchange control methods that the government use, or it's just, would they ask us the definition, or they will ask us the methods? Are there methods?
Methods of
I gotta say, they said foreign exchange controls refers to government-imposed regulations and restrictions on the buying.
So they are there, yes, my child, they are there. And you will learn, I think now when you reopen the schools, have you done the chapter on free trade and protection? Where that chapter is going to deal mostly with such things, where you are going to talk about export promotion, import substitution, different types of taxes that the government can charge to discourage people from spending overboard, like all those. So definitely we will get to those. They are. But most of it, this chapter that you are going to start with is free trade, international trade. It's a free trade and protectionism, which is more related to this very same chapter. So you will understand it even more, those controls that you're talking about, they are still there. But even here, when we fix the balance of payment disequilibria, some of them, they will come through. You will start hearing some of them, because when there's a disequilibrium in the balance of payment, the government would have to bring in some controls to fix the disequilibrium. Yes. So we've looked at investing in foreign countries, inflows of foreign capital, expenditure of money by foreign tourists. So as I have said, this is just the opposite of the factors that we have in demand. And somehow, even now in your June exam, you were given a graph on this. And then one of the questions they wanted to say, why did the demand for rent increase? And then you wouldn't be able to get it right if you do not know these factors that are actually affecting the demand and also the supply of Forex. Now, we are now going practical. We are going to these graphs. This is where now I would have loved to have a whiteboard so that we explain everything. Now we're looking at the demand. We already know the demand. The demand curve is your downward sloping curve, right? In any case, this is your demand curve. Obviously, in that graph, it's written DD. That is your demand curve, right? It's a downward sloping curve. So there is an inverse relationship between price of a foreign exchange and the demand for foreign exchange. There is an inverse relationship between the price of a foreign exchange and the demand for foreign exchange, and that is true, right? There is an inverse relationship between that. And that inverse relationship means something. Like if you look at, I don't even have a pointer. If you look at R, can you see R? I'll just point it myself here. I'm talking about this R, right? And also the M here. Let's say that is our original, that is our original price there. And M is our original equilibrium output. Ne? If the price of an exchange rate increases from R to R1, if it increases from what? From R to R1. Can you see that when you look below this R2? So when it moves from R to R1, what would have happened there? We no longer talk, let's see here, we're talking, this is the dollar against the rupees. Ne? It is not a rand. Look at your graph. We are not using a rand there. We are using the dollar and the rupee. So when the price of a dollar increases from R to R1, what happens to the quantity? What happens to the quantity of dollars that would be demanded? It decreases from M to M1, right? That is that inverse relationship. The higher the exchange rate, the lower the demand for that particular exchange rate would be. If the price of a dollar increases today, many people will not want to buy imports. We will not want to import because we understand that it's going to be more expensive for us to do that. And then let's take an example of a price drop from R to R2. When the price of a rupee drops from R to R2, what happens to the US dollars? There is an increase. Look, it's a pity I don't have. Initially, when the price goes to R1, from our equilibrium quantity, there was a drop in the quantity from M to M1. We agreed all of that, agree? But if we drop the price from R to R2, it becomes cheaper now, ne? So what we would see more dollars being what? More dollars being demanded. So in other words, now they would demand more dollars than they have before. So this is just an explanation of the same graph which I have explained to you, to say at the OR rate of the foreign exchange, the OM quantity of foreign exchange is demanded. It would be seen from the above figure. A rise in the price of foreign exchange OR to OR1 will result in a fall of the demand for foreign exchange OM to OM1. And similarly, the price of a foreign exchange would fall from OR to OR2. More of the dollars would be demanded, which will be OM to OM2. But do not worry. It looks like maybe it's something that is a little bit challenging. It's not. Tomorrow, maybe we would be getting a venue that has got a whiteboard or even a blackboard where I will be doing the drawing and explain it to you. Do you understand? Because I know sometimes it's a challenge for learners to actually see graphs that are already drawn and they do not understand how did we get about to that. But it's really not a problem. It's part of the content, which is very easy, and I can promise you that by tomorrow we will start drawing off these graphs and make sure that all of you understands them, and to also bring you problems from the material that you have. Then I will tell you that let's do activity. So there will be few activities that we'll be doing tomorrow, and then so that we can also do the corrections to those activities together, so we can understand or see from what we have learned today, which was theory, how much have we learned. Do you understand? Then we will do that tomorrow. But actually where we are going, we need to come to this point where we draw the demand and the supplies and all that. You see, I want us to come to these graphs, but by look of time now, it looks like our time is almost up. We are only left with 6 minutes before the beginning of the new class. But then what's going to happen is we've covered the theory part of this. We need to start working on the practical aspects of it. So if you would allow me to then maybe stop the class today, because for me to go practical, I need to use something, I need to write on something. So I will stop it here for today, and then we will start it tomorrow, practical already, and then we're moving and finish off and having activities and all that. Otherwise, for today, thank you very much.
Question that we did not finish yesterday. There was a 2.1.5 that we did not do, and a 2.2. We are now on page 5. Sorry, good morning, guys. How are you? I'm good, thank you. It's good again to see you here. If you can't hear me at the back, just raise your hand and then I'll know now I have to raise my voice a bit. Okay? All right, 2.1.5. Did you guys finish the question? Yes? No? Maybe? Okay, 2.1.5, it says we must determine Freda. Did I say Freda yesterday? I forgot now how to pronounce this. Annual taxable income, you may use the formula. So with this specific one, it's not the general taxable income that we often calculate where we remove the pension fund from the gross income, but they've given us the formula to use, right? Okay, so on that formula, they say we take the gross annual salary. I'm going to go to the document. Okay, so we've got the gross annual salary there. They said we must take the provident fund contribution, but this is the total provident fund. When you look at this column here, we've got the employee provident fund contribution. We also have the employer provident fund contribution. So the total will be the combination of the two. And you can see that the amount is the same, right? So we're just going to multiply one of those amounts by 2. And then we need to take 20% of the travel allowance. Now we've got the taxable travel remuneration and we've got the travel allowance. So the travel allowance on this column, that's the one that we're going to use. Okay. I just want to see which part of my book is on the screen. So we've got taxable income. I'm just going to say I because I don't have a lot of space. And then is equals to the annual salary. So how much is the annual gross salary? 895,108, right? We're going to subtract in bracket 36,005 times 2. And then we must also subtract in brackets 20%, so 20 over 100, times the travel allowance. How much is the travel allowance? 154,839, okay? So remember I said if it's not given and you have to calculate it, you must show your calculations. So we're going to first calculate this amount. Then our answer will be 895,108 minus 72,010. And then 20, please do the calculation with me so that we can verify each other's answers. 154,839. Yeah, can you put the multiplication sign? 30,967, ne? 30,967.8. Don't leave out your decimals. Let's subtract everything. Okay, what's your final answer? 792,130.2. Are we happy with that? All right. That's it. 5 marks. So what we should take from this is just to be able to read the correct values from the document. If they did not say the, let's see, what was that one that I spoke about? The taxable travel remuneration on the formula, then do not mistake that for the travel allowance. Try to see on the document if there is a value for travel allowance and travel allowance only.
Okay. Can we move on? Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Okay. 2.2, we have a repetition of 2.2 on page 5 and page 6. Just be aware it's the same question. So it says Annexure B in the answer book shows the tax rates for individuals for the tax year ending February 2024. Sorry. Use Annexure A and Annexure B and your answer in question 2.1.5 to answer the question that follows. Freda stated that her employer deducted more than the required amount of pay tax from her salary. She felt that she deserved a tax refund from SARS. So again, we're comparing. Okay, so we've got the taxable income. Let's say now that you calculated your taxable income and you did not calculate it correctly in question 2.1.5. But you take your taxable income as it is, the wrong one, and then calculate the tax correctly at question 2.2. You're going to get your full 6 marks. Are we fine? Okay, so even if you feel like you've made a mistake with one question and you need that question to answer the next question, please do not hesitate. Use your answer as it is, even if it gives you negative values, because we work with CA. All we're saying is you know how to calculate tax, regardless of the amount of taxable income that you have used. So you deserve the 6 marks for calculating tax. Okay. So this person has an annual taxable income of 792,130.2. In which tax bracket does he fall? Let's see, which one are we going to use? The annexure B on page 6. Tax bracket number? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. E. Okay, it's the letter E. That's tax bracket 5, ne? Okay, so tax bracket E, because they used letters. I was wondering, what are you guys saying? 8E. Kanti, you're saying E because of the letters. Okay, the formula for that tax bracket is 170,734 plus 39 over 100. I said some people prefer to write 0.39. That is also fine. You put on a bracket there because there's some sort of subtraction that has to take place. Some learners, when they get to this point, they just write that number that you get on the side, which is 641,400. But we know that you have to take the taxable income and then subtract that amount, 641,400. Okay. Step by step, guys. Ne? Right, let's get the difference between the two. Yeah, I'm closing the bracket before opening it. 150,780.2. Are we happy with that? Yes, no, maybe? Then we multiply that by 39%. That will give me 58,804.278. Keep your decimals until your final answer. And then you add the two. $229,538.278. Are we done? We're not done. So we need to subtract, right? What are we subtracting? We have to subtract the rebate. But how do we know which rebate to subtract? Did they give us the age of this person that we're working with? But they gave us her ID number, right? So remember, this was 2024. I'm going to subtract 1971. Yes? Did they give us the age? Or the calculation? This. And 30. Thank you. Let's fix that quickly. And then we take the 150, 730.2 times 0.39. Okay, does that change? It does. Okay. I don't want to make a mess, but I'm going to do that. Now I'm going to start the new continuation of the calculation, not new. So 173.4 plus, are we fine with 58,784.778? Okay. And then now the answer will be 229,518.778. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so do we have the age? We know that this person was born in 1971. When I do the calculation from 1971 to 2024, because remember the document is, they say the tax year ends in February 2024. So we're going to use 2024. That gives us what? 53. So this person is below 65 years of age, okay? So we're going to subtract the primary rebate. That's 16,425. Let's get the difference. $213,093.778. Sorry. You see these 8 and 3s. 8. All right. Are we done with that question? No. We were trying to show whether this person paid more than she should have or not. So when we go to the document, let me just show you the document. There is the tax that she paid. She paid 254,805.24. And then according to our calculation, she was supposed to pay 213,093.78. Okay, so we can give our final answer to 2 decimal places. So that means her statement is valid. Yeah. And remember, that's a 1 mark, so we need it also. Her statement is valid. Sorry. Can we move on to the next question? We are now on page 7. What time did we start? Just need to keep track of my time. Okay. Is everyone done with the corrections? Okay. So for this one, we're looking at VAT, inflation, and exchange rates. We're going to start firstly with the exchange rate question. Now, the problem with this one was it was a double calculation. You had to convert one currency to another, and then that particular currency to the one that is required. I think there was a question like this in either your March test or your June or your term 2 investigation, but there was a question similar to this. And then what I've seen is some of my learners took the different exchange rates, subtracted them to get a difference. Others added the two, and then used that to convert to the other currency. But there's no shortcut with this one. You need to do it step by step. Okay. So let's look at the question 2 on page 8. Okay, there's an example here, but you'll also just be able to see it when we do question 2 on page 8. So the question 2 reads as follows. Candace started a small delivery business in London and planned to purchase an electric car for the business. Table 8 shows information on 2 car purchase options A and B that she could choose from. Okay, so we've got table 8. There is that car. It looks cute. We've got option A and B, both of them. You've got a 48-month period to pay back the amount. Then we've got the deposit and the first installment. For the first one, you've got 1,173.66 pounds, right? Those are pounds, right? Okay, and the other one, we've got 1,640.61 pounds. Okay, and then on the additional monthly installments, you've got 195.61. And for option B, you've got 182.29. Compulsory monthly maintenance cover, so this one you pay it monthly also, is 25.36, and for option B is 24 pounds. All amounts excludes. I know how we usually say VAT is always 15%. Do you see what this question did? And if you don't do that first thing that we always ask of you, read, and read, then you would have missed that. And a few of the grade 12s last year missed the 20%. When the question asked for them to include VAT, they just went on with the 15%. So this shows that they can just change things as they like. Because these people can be nice, but sometimes not so nice. 2.1.1. Okay. 2.1.1 says, calculate the total maintenance cover for the payment period for option B. Okay, so option B, also just be mindful of which option you're working with. It's very, very easy to make small mistakes. So option B's maintenance cover, we've got 24, right? This is going to be paid per month. How many months in total do we have to pay this? 48. Remember, when you do your calculations, you don't have to add your units, but definitely for your final answer, the units must be there. So we've got 24 times 48. My answer is, let me write this beautifully, 1,153. Are we happy? All right. Yes, sir. I want this calculator of mine. It says 52. Okay, so maybe it's not the calculator, it's my eyes. Sorry, guys. 2.1.2. Candace chooses option A. Give one possible reason why Candace chose option A. What do you think? Everything else looks like it's cheap. The maintenance fee for B is cheap. The monthly installment for B is cheap. But the only thing that's expensive for B is the deposit and the first month's installment, right? That could be the only reason why Candace would choose option A, because the deposit is cheaper compared to option B. So option A's deposit is cheaper than B. Or you can say the deposit and the first month's installment, because that's how it's represented on the table. But that's the only reason. Otherwise, if the question was, why would this person choose option B, then we've got a couple of reasons. Actually, not a couple, just two. You will mention that the monthly installment is cheaper. It's okay. For So it's not only my eyes that are not eyeing. Ne? It's okay. Option A's deposit and first month's installment is 1,173.66. Option B is 1,640.61. Are we happy to say that the deposit for option A is cheaper? Okay, thank you. So this was A, and then B. B is 7 marks. So I said when you see 7 marks, you become excited most. 7 marks, 8 marks, 6 marks, 5 marks, those are the marks that we like. We also like the 2 marks, but these ones make us more excited. Okay, calculate the total amount, including VAT, that she would have paid at the end of the payment period. Okay, so they said all the amounts excludes the VAT amount. So we need to firstly calculate the total amount that she would pay, excluding VAT, and then add the VAT. But let's say you want to add the VAT individually and then add all the values at the end, that is still fine, okay? So we're going to start, firstly, we've got, I want to see what I can call it, yes. 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 More affordable is still fine. We will take it. Ne? More affordable is perfect. Okay, what was I? Oh, the total amount. I wanted to see what to call this amount that I'm calculating. So the total amount will be equals to, this is for option A, okay. So we've got 1,173.66 plus, in brackets, 195.61 multiplied by what? 40? 40? It's a trick question. 40? It's a trick question. That means 48 is not the answer. Let's think about it. Remember, the 1,173.66 includes the first installment, 47. Very important. Plus 25.36 in brackets times 48. Are we fine? Small things, but makes a huge difference. So we've got 195.61 times 47, 1,173.66 plus, please check the answers, 9,193.67. Hello? Yes. Okay, so let's go back to the table. Under the details, we've got the payment period. Can you see for both of them is 48? Let's just focus with option A. And then under the payment period, what do we have? We've got the deposit and the first month's installment. It means this 1,171.66 already includes the first month's installment. So now for these ones, we're only going to pay the 47 months. Are we fine? Okay. I'm glad. Okay, so for the fee, because the fee is not included with the deposit, we're just going to multiply the 25.36 times 48. My answer is 1,217.28. And then we add everything together. You guys are good. You know, when we got to 6, 7, you didn't make a noise. I'm very proud of you. That's how traumatized teachers are with the value 6, 7. Okay, that gives us 11,584.61. Ne? Remember, this does not include VAT. Okay? So then you're going to take your 11,584.61. For people who like shortcuts, we will multiply this by 1.2. Why 1.2? Because the VAT is 20% most. 20 divided by 100, that's going to give us 0.2. So we also want to include this 100% in our calculation. That's why we have that 1.2. So I'm going to multiply the 11,584.61 times 1.2. The answer is 25,901. Instead of 11, I typed 21. Okay, 13,901. Yes? Okay. 0.532. Rounded off to 2 decimal places. What's the unit? It's pounds, ne? I almost wrote rand. 13,901.53. Doesn't want to work with me. Any questions so far? All right. Then now we are at 2.1.3. I'm going to give you 5 minutes to try it out. 5 minutes. 2.1.3. The question reads, Candace's aunt in Swaziland or Switzerland offers to pay the deposit and the first month installment. So the deposit and the first month installment. Calculate in Swiss franc. What is that? Is it franc or franc? CHF, the deposit and the first installment for option A. So we need to convert the pounds to CHF. Table 9 gives us the convergence. We've got the CHF to rands, and then we've got the pounds to rands. 5 minutes. Three minutes. Are we winning? Done? One minute. Bless you. Okay. Let's look at the table. Table 9, they've given us two different types of convergence, but they're both the same. When you take the 20.48 and you say 1 divided by 20.48, you will see that the decimal that you get is 0.04882. Obviously, they've rounded it off to 2 decimal places, right? So it means if you use this side of the table for your convergence, your answers are going to be different from this side of the table. And that is fine, because that's the information that we have provided to you. Ne? So we're going to use both of them and see how everything goes. So now they said the aunt wants to pay for the deposit and the first month. What's the value of the deposit and the first month for option A? That's 1,173.66. Okay. Now let's look at the first part of the table. It says ZAR per unit. So it means 1 pound is equivalent to 20.48 rands. Are we fine? That's what it means. Okay? So I'm going to use that first. Let me just draw a nice line. So it says 1 pound. If you have to write it down so that you do not confuse yourself. It's equivalent to 20.48 rands. Okay. So now, yes, pounds. What did I say? Oh, the 20 point is for the Swiss. 23.2. You see how easy it is to make mistakes? Thank you. That's 23. 23. 23.20. Yes. I don't like making a mess. I'm going to write it down here again. 23.20. Okay. So now, in terms of convergence, every time when you move to a unit currency, you divide. Some teachers use it as from big to small, from small to big. Okay? So when you move to the unit currency, you do what? You divide. So if we want to convert the rands to pounds, we will divide by 23.2. But if we want to convert the pounds to rands, what will we do? Multiply. So every time you move to a unit, so the one that is one of this is equivalent to, it doesn't matter whether it's 0 point something or it's 20 point something. If this one is a unit, every time you move to the unit, you divide. Okay, sharp. So we're going to take the 1,173.66 and multiply it by 23.20. That answer is going to be in rands. Thank you for the answer, but I can't hear you. 27,228.912. Remember, keep your decimals until your final answer. Okay. So now we need to convert the rands to CHF, right? Okay. So the conversion that they've given us, they've told us that 1, do you write CHF first? 1 CHF is equivalent to 20.48 rents. Okay. So now we want to move from rent to a unit. So what do? We divide. Okay. So I'm going to take the 27,228.912 and divide it by 20.48. Our answer in CHF is 1,329.54. So I rounded it off to 2 decimal places because that's my final answer. Any questions? Okay, I'm going to cover this for now. And then now we're moving to the second part of the table. The second part of the table is units per ZAR. So it means 1 rand is equivalent to so many pounds, or 1 rand is equivalent to so many CHF. Okay, so we're going to now start with the first conversion. We've got 1 is equals to, now I need to choose the correct one, 0.043, and then we want to move from pounds to rands. We're moving to a unit ratio. So what do? We divide. Every time you move to a unit ratio, you divide. So I'm going to take the 1,173.66 and divide it by 0.043. Both these answers were catered for on the memo. So this is going to give us 27,294.4186. And then the next conversion is 1 rand is equivalent to 0.049 CHF. So it means we are now moving from unit to another currency. That means we're going to multiply. So we will then take 27,294.4186 and multiply it by 0.049. 294.4186 times 0.049, and the answer here is, that's CHF 1,337.43. You see the two answers are not the same, but both answers are 100% correct. Okay, let's move now to page 9. Are we done here? Can I turn the page? Okay. All right. So now page 9 is the combination of data handling and finance. So this is just to show how they can combine the two. So we've got the Ivory Coast as a country in West Africa. I almost said Neo. Neo is the coach for the national soccer team of Ivory Coast. Table 8 shows the top 10 goal scorers. the number of games played, and the number of goals scored by the national team. Okay, so you've got that. There's the number of goals played. I hope you guys can see. Okay, the number of goals played and the number of goals scored. Oh, the number of games played and the number of goals scored. Use Table 8 and the information above to answer the questions that follow. 5.1.1. Identify the player who scored an average of exactly 1 goal for every 3 matches played. 1 goal for every 3 matches played. What are we looking for? We're looking for the number of games that are divisible by the, by the goals scored. But when you divide the 2, you must get what? 3, right? Okay, so if you just scan through it, this is not going to give us a 3. That's not going to give us a 3. Not a 3. Do you think that's going to give us a 3? Nope. Not a 3. Definitely not a 3. Not a 3, and definitely not a 3. What about I? 54 divided by 18? That's going to give us a 3, right? So it means the answer for 5.1.1 is player I. Okay? I or player I, it does not matter. Okay, and then 5.1.2. Nero compared player G with player C and made the following claim. Player G had a better games played to goal scored ratio compared to player C. Okay. So now when they speak about the ratio, we know it's always something is to something. So there is the is to. So we're looking for games played is to goals scored, right? And for you to be able to compare the ratio, you need to put them in the same format. So for us to be able to compare the two, they can either be 1 is to something or something is to 1, but they must be in the same format. Okay, so let's start with player G. Player G, I'll write player G's ratio. What number do we have for games played for player G? We've got 30. So it's going to be 30 is to 21. Are we fine? Okay. So 30 is to 21. And then for player C, we've got 50 is to 28. Okay. So we're going to write them both down as a unit ratio. If we simplify them, they're still not going to be beneficial to us because we can't compare the two. So to write them down as a unit ratio, we need to divide for this one, both sides by 30. That's going to give us 1 point something. And then we divide both sides by 50. That's going to give us 1 point something. Okay, 21 divided by 30, that's 0.7. So we've got 1 is to 0.7, 28 divided by 50. We've got 1 is to 0.556. Okay, so it simply means for every match played for player G, they were able to score 0.7 goals. Compared to player C, for every match played, they were able to score 0.56 goals. So which one is better? G is the G, ne? G is better. So they said the statement is valid. His statement is valid. These are both final papers. Do you see how nice and easy they can be? Also, when you get to that table, you mustn't be anxious. It's just you and the paper can't talk. The paper may have a lot of text on it, but it cannot talk. You can't be bullied by something that can't talk. So please try your best. We really need those distinctions. All right, that was 5.1.2, and now we move into 5.1.3. We don't have time. I can't give you time. We're going to have to do it together. Okay, Noah earns annual salary of 18,000 euros. The first important thing is annual salary there. The official currency in the Ivory Coast is the Franc of West African Communities, XOF. On the 16th of March 2024, the exchange rate was €1 is equivalent to 656 XOF. Calculate Neo's monthly salary in XOF. 4 marks. Okay, so they gave us already 1 is equivalent to that. So we need to convert this to XOF. So we're moving from a unit to another currency. That simply means we're going to multiply. All right. So I'm going to take the 18,000. You don't have to work with the 18,000. Okay, you don't have to work with the 18,000. You can make it a monthly one first and then convert. So I'm going to multiply this by 656 to convert it to the XOF. What's that number? 11,808,000. Ne? Remember, it's very important to say your numbers out loud because on some of the questions we ask you to write them out in words. Okay, so this is the annual one. So to get the monthly, we're going to divide the 11,808,000. We're going to divide it by 12. That's 984,000. If this was in rands, this would be a very nice salary to have. Hey? You become a millionaire in 2 months. Yeah? What did he say? Is there anyone who does not like money? Yes. God bless you. Yeah, money is a nice thing to have. I didn't say a lot of money. Okay? Just, it is. Okay, it is a lot. Okay. Why are you guys judging? I don't have it. Obviously, it looks nice to have it, but it's okay. 5.1.4. Okay, let's see. Neo invested 2,500 for 30 months at a compound interest rate of 12.6%, compounded annually. Remember, I don't know if there are a few people in here who have changed from maths to mathslet, but the compound interest formula we do not use, ne? It's a nice formula to use, maybe to check your answer, yes. But we want you to do it manually. So now, first things first, 30 months is equivalent to 2.5 years, ne? Because it's 24 months for 2 years, and we will have the remaining 6 months, just to keep that in mind. Calculate in euros the amount he will receive at the end of the investment period. Okay, so we're doing it step by step. So I usually just write a 1 for the number of calculations. So in this case, because the rate is per annum, so that one will represent the first year and the second year, just like that. So on the first year, we will have 2,500 times the lazy people again. Are you guys lazy also? No. You do not like this method? No, not lazy in a bad way, like lazy in terms of not having to do too many calculations to get to the answer, that one. This one will save you a lot of time, ne? So please just, and a lot of decimals to work with. So we've got 2,500 times 1.126. That will give us 2,815. But if you still want to stick to getting the percentage first and then adding, that is still completely fine. You will still get your full marks. And then for the second year, we will have, remember with compound interest, we use the accumulated value to calculate the interest for the following year. So we take the 2,815, we multiply it again by the rate, all right? And then that will give us 3,169.69. Okay, now this last one, it's half a year. So 3,169.69 times, instead of doing that, because it's not a full year, we're going to take the 0.126, which is the 12%, and we're going to divide it by 2, because now we're working with half a year. Some teachers will prefer you multiply by 1.126 and then you multiply by 6/12. The 6/12 shows the 6 months out of the 12 months in a year, which is still a half. So the calculation will still give you the same amount. So here we're just calculating the interest. This multiplied by 0.126/2, this will give me 199.69. Okay? So I want to move to the next page to calculate the total. May I? Okay, so the total will be, what was that one? 3,169.69 plus 199.69. It's a calculator value, Mos. And the final answer was in euros. Remember your units at the end. That's 3,369.38. All right, we worked well. That is it from me. You guys must have a wonderful day. Keep warm.